Welcome back, everybody, to the Heal Security Weekly Deep Dive with your host, Mark Davis.
And Diana Richard.
And happy Valentine's Day. Even though it's a day for love, we've got a fresh batch of cybersecurity news to unpack.
You know it. Love may be in the air, but unfortunately so are digital threats.
That's right. So let's dive right in and see what's been making headlines this week. First up, we've got a story that's both romantic and alarming. A tunnel of love. Cruise scam targeting folks looking for love at sea.
Yeah, this one really caught my eye. It's a classic example of how scammers exploit our emotions, especially when we're feeling vulnerable or hopeful.
It's like they know exactly when to strike right, when people are open to new connections and maybe letting their guard down a bit.
Exactly. They create these elaborate stories and fake profiles to build trust, and then they go in for the ask money personal information, you name it.
It's a good reminder to always be cautious online, especially in romantic contexts. No matter how tempting a profile or story might seem, always trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is.
Absolutely. Okay, let's shift gears from matters of the heart to a more technical vulnerability. We've got a situation with SonicWall firewalls. There is a major vulnerability being actively exploited, and to make matters worse, a proof-of-concept exploit is now publicly available.
Ugh, that's never a good sign. SonicWall firewalls are pretty widely used, so this could have a big impact.
Yeah, it's a serious concern. This vulnerability could give attackers unauthorized access to systems, potentially leading to data breaches and all sorts of nasty consequences.
So what's the damage control here? What should people do if they're using SonicWall firewalls?
The most urgent thing is to patch those systems immediately. SonicWall has released updates to address this vulnerability, so get those installed ASAP. If you're not sure if your systems are affected, head over to SonicWall's website. They have a ton of info and resources to help you assess the situation.
All right, good advice. From firewalls to espionage. Now we're talking about the Lazarus group, a state-sponsored hacking group known for some pretty high-profile attacks. And it seems they've got a new trick up their sleeve. MarsTech 1, a JavaScript implant designed to target software developers.
This one is a bit concerning because it shows a shift in tactics. They're going after individuals with access to highly sensitive code and systems, which could lead to intellectual property theft or even supply chain attacks.
So not just stealing data, but potentially compromising software before it even gets distributed.
Exactly. It's a whole new level of sneaky. And the fact that this implant is designed to be difficult to detect makes it even more dangerous.
Yuck. This next story is a reminder that even platforms we trust can be compromised. Turns out PirateFi, a game on Steam, was actually distributing Vidar info-stealing malware.
Yeah, around 1,500 users might have been affected by this one. Vidar is nasty. It steals passwords, credit card details, you name it. And the fact that it was hosted on a platform like Steam, which many people consider safe and trustworthy, just adds to the unease.
Definitely wake-up call. So what should people do if they downloaded this game? Is deleting it enough, or is there more to it?
Deleting it is a good first step, but Steam is recommending users reinstall Windows and change all their passwords, just to be safe. Oh, and run a full system scan with updated antivirus software. Can't hurt to be extra cautious.
Right. Better safe than sorry. Okay, buckle up for this next one. We're talking about a new phishing kit that can bypass two-factor authentication, specifically targeting Gmail and Yahoo users.
This is a big one. Two-factor authentication has been a pretty reliable defense for a while, so to see a phishing kit that can circumvent it is concerning.
So even with two-factor authentication, enabled users are still vulnerable.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
It highlights the fact that no single security measure is foolproof. We need to think in terms of layers, strong passwords, phishing awareness, and keeping our software updated. It all adds up.
Good point.
Okay.
Let's talk about open source AI. It's an exciting field with tons of potential, but there's a dark side too. What are some of the security concerns surrounding open source AI models?
Well, the open nature of these models, while great for collaboration, also makes them susceptible to misuse. We're talking about the potential for malicious code injection, the creation of deepfakes, things like that.
So a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Amazing potential, but also a real risk if it falls into the wrong hands.
Exactly. Finding that balance between innovation and responsibility is going to be crucial as AI continues to advance.
And now for a real bombshell. It appears a zero-day vulnerability in PostgreSQL. A popular open-source database system was used to attack the U.S. Treasury.
This is a big deal. Zero-day exploits are the toughest to defend against because they're unknown vulnerabilities. No patches, no defenses. It's a nightmare scenario.
And in this case, it resulted in a successful attack on the U.S. Treasury. That's pretty alarming considering the sensitivity of the data they handle.
It really underscores the importance of vigilance, strong security protocols, and rapid response capabilities. We need to be prepared for the unexpected and have measures in place to detect and mitigate these kinds of attacks as quickly as possible.
Okay, before we wrap up this segment, let's touch on some positive news. Both Group Security and CyberArk have been making moves to enhance their offerings in SaaS security and identity management.
That's right. Grip Security has introduced a new SaaS Security Posture Management Solution, SSPM for short. It helps organizations identify and manage security risks associated with cloud-based applications.
And CyberArk has acquired a company called Zilla, which specializes in SaaS identity security solutions. Seems like a smart move to strengthen their position in the identity management market.
Definitely. SaaS security and identity management are becoming increasingly important as more businesses move their operations to the cloud. These acquisitions reflect that trend.
Makes sense. All right, one last story before we take a break. This one is about device code phishing, a technique being used by Russian-linked hackers to compromise Microsoft accounts.
This is a sneaky one because it bypasses traditional defenses by exploiting the device authentication process. Instead of stealing passwords, they trick users into granting access through a seemingly legitimate authentication request.
So it's like a digital sleight of hand, playing on users' trust in those authentication mechanisms they're used to.
Exactly. They create fake login pages that look just like the real thing. When a user enters their credentials, the attackers initiate a legitimate device code flow in the background.
So the user sees the familiar prompt, enters the code, and boom, they've unknowingly given the attackers access to their account.
Precisely. It's a reminder to be extra cautious with authentication requests, especially when accessing accounts from new devices. Always double-check the URL, look for any red flags, and never enter a code unless you're absolutely certain you're interacting with a legitimate service.
And what is Microsoft doing to combat this threat?
They are aware of the issue and working to improve their security measures. They are enhancing their systems to better detect suspicious login activity and educating users on how to stay safe.
It's a constant cat and mouse game, isn't it?
It certainly is. But by staying informed and adopting good security practices, we can make it much harder for these attackers to succeed.
Well said. So let's wrap up with some key takeaways from our Valentine's Day deep dive. What are the most important things for our listeners to remember?
Number 1, be wary. Always be skeptical. Question everything, whether it's an online dating profile, a software download, or a suspicious email. If something seems off, trust your gut.
Right. Vigilance is key, too. Keep your software updated, use strong passwords, and enable two-factor authentication where possible.
It's about building layers of defense, making it as hard as possible for the bad guys to get through.
And never underestimate the importance of staying informed. The threat landscape is always changing, so keep learning. Read those cybersecurity blogs. Listen to podcasts. Stay curious.
There are so many great resources out there. Take advantage of them.
Okay, so be wary, be vigilant, stay informed. But on Valentine's Day, let's add one more. Be cyber aware.
Absolutely. Protect your digital heart.
Okay. Before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought-provoking question. If hackers are constantly upping their game, becoming more sophisticated, what do we need to do to stay ahead of the curve?
That's a great question. I think it comes down to embracing a mindset of continuous learning. We need to be adaptable, willing to learn new skills, explore new technologies, and stay curious.
It's not just about the tech skills either. It's about developing that critical thinking mindset, being able to assess risks, make smart decisions, and adapt to change.
And remember, we're not alone in this. There's a whole community of cybersecurity professionals, researchers, and enthusiasts out there. We can learn from each other, share knowledge, and support each other.
Absolutely. Collaboration is key. The more we work together, the stronger we become. So on that note, let's wrap up this Valentine's Day edition of The Deep Dive. We hope you found it insightful and maybe even a little bit fun.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, stay safe out there.
Keep your digital heart protected.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of Heal Security Dispatch Deep Dive. We appreciate your time and hope today's insights provided valuable perspective. Be sure to tune in again on Monday for more expert updates and critical cybersecurity news. Don't forget to like, subscribe for ongoing coverage, and sign up for a free trial of Heal Security Desktop at healsecurity.com. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and continue to secure your digital world.